Part 297. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2968. Bai Shan sighed. If it wasn't for Inspector Guo to make trouble for him, he would actually be quite leisurely, because the county chief and county lieutenant under his command had used it. Unlike other county magistrates and county magistrates, except for the magistrate who delegated power to the chief clerk, Bai Shan basically entrusted county affairs to the county magistrate, and public security to the county magistrate Dong. Therefore, Fang Xiancheng and Dong Xianwei now have real power, and their power is not small. It is also because of this that Fang Xiancheng and Dong Xianwei are very concerned about Bai Shan and the county government. In the prime of life, who doesn't want to build a career? Not to mention Lieutenant Dong, who has been left out in the cold. Even Fang Xiancheng is also very happy to have Bai Shan as his boss. He is grateful for the kindness of the magistrate Lu, but he has to say that even if he is the confidant of the magistrate Lu cannot entrust him with so many county affairs, and then he goes to the countryside every 3 or 5 times and is not in the county. Yeah. Feelings come from getting along, and people's hearts are biased. Fang Xiancheng's heart was a little biased at this time, and he couldn't help asking Dong Xianwei to discuss, "Do you want to ask Lu County Magistrate for help?" Bai, it's not a problem for the magistrate to hide outside. Now the Song family has sent someone to guard outside the county office. Someone from Qingzhou City comes to ask every other day. I don't think the magistrate can hide for many days. I am afraid that the Qingzhou City side will directly send people to the countryside to find it. It would be a little ugly if Magistrate Bai was invited back like that. Lieutenant Dong County, this is against Governor Guo, can County Magistrate Lu help? Fang Xiancheng wasn't sure either, so he could only say, try it. Lieutenant Dong encouraged him, you are familiar with the county magistrate, you should try it. Fang Xiancheng. He scratched his head, and finally sighed, tomorrow I will find an excuse to go to Qingzhou City. Wei Dong thought for a while and then said, didn't the magistrate of Bai say that he will recruit Ding to repair roads and water conservancy in June this year? Do you want to take the official document to Qingzhou City for approval? As long as this kind of service is not large-scale transfer and occupation of agricultural time, basically there is no need to report to the governor's office. The county can make up its own mind, but the report is correct, it seems to be closer. The most important thing is that they need a reason now to go. Governor's house. Dong Xianwei felt that his idea was good, so he looked at Fang Xiancheng and waited for praise. Fang Xiancheng glanced at him and said, I will take my wife and children to Qingzhou City to buy some fabrics and utensils, and then he said, tomorrow, I will take my wife and children to Qingzhou City to buy some fabrics and utensils? Why should I go through the hands of the governor's office? What if he and Bai County Magistrate get angry? What if we live here, will we still recruit servants this year? Lieutenant Dong County, that makes sense, he thought about it less. Fang Xiancheng really took his family to Qingzhou City the next day. At this time, Guo Governor, who was so annoyed, was also thinking about whether to go to Bihai County. He glanced at the coral tree on the ancient frame, and went forward to touch it. It was as lustrous as jade. It was indeed a rare coral tree. Since you have taken the benefits of others, you have to eliminate disasters for others, otherwise this thing will definitely be returned. Inspector Guo was reluctant. After thinking about it for a while, he still called out loudly and ordered, let them prepare the carriage and horses, and let's go to Bihai County for a walk. When will the master leave? Inspector Guo said, it's late today, let's do it tomorrow. After thinking about it, he still didn't want to make the relationship too stiff with Bai Shan, so he said, send someone to Bihai County to spread the word, and say that I will go to the county center tomorrow to inspect, and let the county magistrate wait at the county office. The servant responded and sent someone to Bihai County to notify. The official document was given to Wei Dong, and Wei Dong gave it to Zhou Man. He said in distress, "Master Zhou, Governor Guo came in person, do you want to call Master Bai back?" Zhou Man put away the official document and asked, "Do you know where your Lord Bai is?" "In Dajiawa, the county town is not far away, so now go to inform that Bai Shan can come back in the dark, or he can rush back early the next morning." Zhou Man glanced at him and said, "No, you don't know." "Ah," Lieutenant Dong looked at her in confusion. "Zhou Mandao, I mean you don't know where the county magistrate is, and I don't know either. He went to the countryside. Bihai County is so big, and there are many remote and poor places. Who knows where he took people? Important, I have searched several places, but no one can be found. You and Fang Xiancheng are in charge of the county affairs, so please entertain the Governor Guo first." Lieutenant Dong Xian understood. "Master Zhou, tomorrow is a holiday, and Fang Xiancheng is going to Qingzhou City. Do you want him to face Governor Guo alone? He can't do it." Seeing that his forehead was starting to sweat, Zhou Man did not embarrass him, and said, "Forget it, our medical department will come to entertain him." Zhou Man thought for a while and then said, "It's just that the medical office in Bihai County is on the right track. In the past few days, people from some villages have come to see a doctor. There are still many patients, so just let Governor Guo see the results. Qingzhou, the city's medical office, should also be set up. These all need money." Wei Dongxian also heard Zhou Man's potential meaning and was speechless for a while. "So, is the Governor Guo lucky or unfortunate to come here?" The next day, Zhou Man took out his crimson official robe and put it on, then sat in the county government office with a palm fan and waited for Guo to stab at the door. Lieutenant Dong Xian walked around the yard, craned his neck from time to time to look out, and other officials and yamen who knew that the governor was coming also wandered in the yard nervously. Zhou Man felt that the lobby was still a little hot, so he changed his chair to sit in the corridor, blowing the occasional wind while fanning the fan. Seeing that they were so nervous, he couldn't help saying, "I said, I'll be off today. Mew, do you all take rest." Even Song Master didn't go home, so he came to the county government to work overtime for the first time. He smiled and said, "Master Zhou, the lower officials have never seen such a big official as Guo Shishi, and they were nervous and curious for a while, which made the adults laugh. Already." Zhou Man tapped the official robe on his body with a fan and said, look here, what do you mean by never seeing such a big official? Isn't this official sitting here?" When the people in the yard heard the words, they turned to look at Zhou Man. She was wearing a crimson official robe and an official hat, her lips were red and her teeth were white, and her face was white and tender. Because the official robe was made for men with round neck robes, she wore it in a bizarre manner. Zhou Man lifted his eyelids and glanced at them lightly, and asked, "Does it look good?" Everyone suddenly woke up, and immediately turned their heads away and did not dare to look again. Zhou Man snorted, "Isn't it the fourth rank? It is worth all the fuss. The fourth rank of this official is still the Beijing official. This seems to be true. In terms of dignity, it seems that Zhou Manjin is above the governor of Guo, but the departments are different." Everyone looked at each other, and they didn't seem to be so nervous anymore. Zhou Man shook his fan and looked up at the sun in the sky, and sighed, "Tomorrow is June, but it's too hot." Everyone nodded together, "Very hot, very hot." Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2969. So on such a hot day, why hasn't the Governor Guo come yet? Shouldn't he get up earlier on his way? Even the bullock cart should arrive by now, right? As soon as he finished speaking, a horse galloped up and stopped at the entrance of the county government office. Before it stopped, he jumped off the horse, rushed into the county government office and shouted, "Where is the county magistrate? Where is the county magistrate?" Zhou Man, who was sitting on the railing to enjoy the coolness, almost fell to the ground by his exclamation. She helped the pillar to sit firmly, and asked angrily, "What are you shouting? You scared me to death. Where is the governor Guo?" "I." She raised her head and glanced at the big sun, and said reluctantly, "I'll go meet you on behalf of Magistrate Bai." "Oh, where's the Magistrate of Bai? What are you welcoming?" The governor of Guo went back to the governor's mansion. "There are noble people in Beijing who want to see the Magistrate of Bai. Quickly ask the Magistrate of Bai to go to Qingzhou City with me." Zhou Man blinked, jumped down from the railing, shook his fan and said, "The nobles of the capital, it's easy to say, come here, go find the county magistrate Bai, and see where he is. Last night I said today I can come back early in the morning, why haven't I arrived yet?" Dong Xianwei watched her open her eyes and talk nonsense, responded on behalf of everyone, and immediately ordered 2 yeomen to go out, go to the stable to choose the best horses, go to everyone's place to find the county magistrate, and say the capital is coming. What noble person, Lord Zhou told him to come back quickly. Zhou Man was still shaking with a fan in his hand, and then slowly sat on the railing. In his heart, there was a little person who was happily circling and somersaulting. She couldn't help but tut to Keek, and secretly said, "It's okay to come here, your honorable person. It's so timely." Keek also thinks that the 2 of them are lucky, and it's a day later, when the governor of Guo arrives here, even if Zhou Man is an official who is no less than his, and Bai Shan is not there, the relationship between the 2 will deteriorate. It must not be as peaceful as before. The officer who came to notify saw Zhou Man sitting on the railing again and fanning slowly, and couldn't help stomping his feet anxiously. "Master Zhou, why are you not in a hurry at all? The prefect and the nobles are waiting in Qingzhou City." "Zhou Man is in a hurry, she is not in a hurry at all. If he is in a hurry, he will bring someone directly to Bihai County, and can he be stopped by Guo Zishi? If the prince doesn't come, it must be in no hurry. He has just arrived in Qingzhou City, so he can't take a bath, change clothes, have a meal or something. No rush, not at all." She also comforted the officer, "It's so hot, you see sweat all over your head. Don't worry, Magistrate Bai is still on the way, I've already sent someone to look for him, we'll go there when he arrives. Don't worry, your honor is not would be to blame." Seeing that his face was red from the sun, he hurriedly asked the yeoman to take him to wash his face and rest. "My kitchen made sour plum soup, and I went to Xiaoman and asked someone to bring you a bucket, and drink a bowl to cool off the heat." The officers immediately stepped forward and surrounded the officers to leave. The officers couldn't resist, so they could only look back desperately and shouted, "Master Zhou, Master Zhou, Master Chief Inspector is waiting for you." Zhou Man waved his fan and let out a breath when he saw him walk away. Dong Xianwei came back and reported, "Master Zhou, people have already been sent out, but why is the nobleman so powerful, so that the prefect is so anxious?" Zhou Man said indifferently, "It's all right, let's wait for Lord Bai." But when Bai Shan receives the news and comes back from everyone, it's getting dark, right? Zhou Man also thought of this, and sighed, there are a lot of mosquitoes sleeping in the open at this time. But she still decided to go home and ask Mei to pack her luggage. When Bai Shan came back, they would go to Qingzhou City. They could stay outside the city for one night and then enter the city the next morning. Zhou Man had a good plan, and was about to go to the backyard when the officer broke free from the hands of a bunch of yeomen, still holding a bowl, his face flushed, and he called to Zhou Man, "Master Zhou, Guo the prefect said that you must go quickly, don't waste your time, and call the magistrate Bai, we can't afford to offend you." Zhou Man waved his fan and looked at him sympathetically, "Child, do you have a problem with your brain? Would you like me to take a look at your pulse?" Lieutenant Dong County was also a little angry, and said to the officer, "Our county magistrate is really not there. Do you think our magistrate is hiding from you? He is really not there, really not. After emphasizing that, Dong Xianwei felt that this was not good, so he took a slow tone and patted the officer on the shoulder, soothing, "Brother, I also know that you are in a hurry, and we are also in a hurry, but our adults are really not here, but you can rest assured, we have already sent someone to look for him, he is probably on the way, maybe he will be back in a while." The officer looked at Lieutenant Dong Xian suspiciously, and then to Zhou Man, "Really not here?" Zhou Man shook his palm fan and nodded seriously, "It's really not there." Seeing that she was still so slow, the officer almost cried, "Master Zhou, there is really a noble person in Qingzhou City." "I know." Zhou Man looked at him with incomprehension, "I don't believe it." "But your performance is clearly not believing." The officers always felt that Bai Shan was in this county office, and maybe he was hiding somewhere to watch him. Zhou Man saw that he was about to cry, even his neck and ears turned red, and he couldn't help frowning. Although His Royal Highness is very valuable, as long as no one deliberately provokes him, he is still very good at talking. "You are so afraid, are you Guo Guo?" The inspector offended His Highness the Crown Prince. "That has nothing to do with you. You are a servant, and His Highness can't blame you, right?" The officer was stunned and looked at Zhou Man blankly. Seeing that the flushing on his face seemed to have subsided a little, Zhou Man breathed a sigh of relief and reassured him, "Okay, don't be afraid, if your highness blames you for my delay, we will help you bear it, really." "Of officer, you know that your noble is the prince." Zhou Man paused and nodded, "I heard that, isn't it the prince?" "It's the crown prince." The clerk returned to his senses, and then asked, "Is the magistrate Bai really not in the county office?" "Zhou Man, I'm really not here. He went to the countryside and ran a long way. Yesterday, we sent someone to look for him after we received news from Governor Guo, thinking that he should be back at night. It should be something delayed on the way." The officer felt a little better when he heard the words, and finally he was not so anxious. Zhou Man immediately said to the stunned yeoman behind him, "What are you doing? Take him down to wash his face and drink sour plum soup, drink more, don't dislike it." The yeoman came back to their senses and pulled the clerk down with a deep foot and a shallow foot. Lieutenant Dong Xian was also in a trance, swallowed and asked Zhou Man, too, "The prince has come to our Qingzhou city." Zhou Man glanced at him and nodded. "I'm a darling. He is so old that he has never even seen the governor, and now he wants to see the prince." "No, he doesn't seem to be able to see the prince, but the magistrate Bai wants to see." See you at 7. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2970. Zhou Man returned to the backyard with a fan, and calculated the time when Bai Shan would return. With a sigh, he summoned Mei San and said, "Pack up 2 burdens, we are going out at night." He added, "Organize the things at home. If the prince comes to Bihai County, he may live with us, and then we have to move out." Even Meio was a little nervous. His Royal Highness has come down. Zhou Man nodded and waved his hand, "Go clean up, by the way, in addition to the official uniform, put 2 better sets of clothes inside. People rely on clothes and horses rely on saddles, we can't let people look down on them now. If you want good clothes, you have to have good shoes and accessories to decorate it. With this arrangement, things can't be packed with 2 burdens." Mei said, "Miss, put it in a box and put it in the car." Zhou Man rolled his eyes and nodded, "Good idea, go, let someone prepare the carriage." Bai Shan didn't know anything at this time, and he was looking at the dried salt in the warehouse with his hands behind his back. The dried salt is packed in fine sacks and stacked in the warehouse. To prevent moisture, the ground is separated by a hand-wide space with stones and wooden boards, and the salt bags are stacked on top. Bai Shan counted and nodded slightly after checking the ledger. There was no problem with the ledger. According to the current salt price, the amount of their inventory would be enough for Bihai County's financial expenditure for 1 year. Salt really makes money. Bai Shan reached out and patted the salt bag, sighing. Every time Zhou Liwei came to the warehouse, he felt a sense of accomplishment and was very happy. He couldn't understand his little uncle's sigh. "Little uncle, is there less salt?" Bai Shan shook his head. "No, I was thinking, we don't use salt much on weekdays, but it is an indispensable thing for every household, but it is so difficult to get the essential things into the hands of the common people at a low price. Can this be a good thing?" Zhou Liwei didn't quite understand. Isn't that the price of salt all the time? It seems that nothing has changed since childhood. Bai Shandao, but now the cost of obtaining salt is reduced. If you don't cook salt, the consumption of wood will also be reduced. As long as the climate is suitable and the manpower can keep up, we can dry sea salt in a wide range. Bai Shan paused, pressed many words to the bottom of his heart, and said, "I wonder what the price of salt will be by then." Zhou Liwei thought it simply, and smiled. "If you have more salt, it will definitely be cheaper." Bai Shan didn't nod his head, but he didn't shake his head. His eyes swept through his official salt little by little, and he left the warehouse with some satisfaction. Zhou Liwei locked the warehouse and nodded to the soldiers guarding outside. The two most important places for everyone, one is the Yantian, and the other is the 3 large warehouses that have been opened up, so Luo Patrol has sent confidants to guard. But only Zhou Liwei has the key to enter and leave the warehouse, and only Zhou Liwei can bring people in and out. Bai Shan walked with him for a while, looked back and said, "The salt field should have its own soldiers." Zhou Liwei, huh? Bai Shan glanced down at him and shook his head. "Forget it, for the long term, it's better to cross each other. When there are more people in the salt field, you can choose some from the long-term workers to be the guards of the salt field and patrol with Luo." The soldiers guarded the warehouse and the salt works together. Of course, the main responsibility for inspection and defense lies with Inspection Luo. Zhou Liwei didn't quite understand it yet. When Bai Shan was trying to teach him some checks and balances, he heard the sound of hooves. He turned to look. Daji saw that it was the yamen of the county government office, so he waved and called out, attracting the 2 people who were still running to the salt field. When the 2 yamen heard the sound, they turned their heads and glanced, and immediately ran over. The 2 were too tired, and their horses were too tired, so they jumped off their horses and said, "My lord, the governor's office sent a letter yesterday, saying that the governor of Guo wanted to come to Bihai County in person, but today he sent a trooper, saying that it was from Qingzhou City. Your Excellency, let your lord go to Qingzhou City quickly, and Zhou Lord let us hurry up and call your lord, and let your lord go back quickly." After the yamen said such a long sentence in one breath, he almost missed the catch. Zhou Liwei didn't know that his little uncle came to Jiawa to hide from the provincial governor. Hearing the words, he immediately urged, "Little uncle, then go back quickly. I was curious again, what noble person, so eager to call you back?" Bai Shan had already guessed it, and became happy. "You can see it later. You stay here and look after the salt field, and I'll go back now." "Zhou Liwei, can I see it too?" But Bai Shan had already walked quickly to his residence, without answering his question. He took Deji and the accompanying yamen back to the county seat quickly, but they didn't enter the city, because it was already dark when they got to the city gate. Although the city gate was not closed, it wouldn't be open for long. Zhou Man asked people to park the carriage on the side of the road outside the city gate. She sat on the carriage, her legs swayed, and when she saw the group of them coming quickly, she immediately covered her mouth and nose with a handkerchief and waved to them. The dust was flying. Bai Shan restrained the horse before and after, looked at the horse and cart she brought, and asked, "Is this a night drive?" Zhou Man nodded. Guo governor must be angry and guilty now, we'd better go earlier, don't make the relationship too stiff. Tomorrow they will enter the city as soon as the city gates open. Governor Guo, seeing that they have worked so hard and working hard, must understand that they didn't let him dove on purpose. Bai Shan thought for a while and felt that what she said made sense, so he turned around and said to the yamen, "Go back." Lieutenant Dong Xian was also in the convoy. He very much wanted to go to Qingzhou City with Bai Shan Zoman, but he couldn't, because Fang Xiancheng was in Qingzhou City at this time, and Bihai County would definitely keep someone to guard it, otherwise the county magistrate and the county leader he and the county lieutenant are not in the county office, so the song master bookkeeper can't be turned upside down. Sure enough, Bai Shan saw Wei Dong and smiled and said, "The county magistrate has entrusted it to Wei Dong and Chief Fang. By the way, what about Chief Fang? There are too many people here, so it is difficult for Dong Xiancheng to tell him that Fang Xiancheng went to Qingzhou City to ask the county magistrate for help, so he could only say, it happened to be a holiday, and Fang Xiancheng took his family to Qingzhou City to buy things. Bai Shan, I have a rest today, but tomorrow I will go to the yamen. Has he not come back yet?" Lieutenant Dong looked at Bai Shan innocently, hoping that he could read his eyes. Bai Shan didn't understand it, but he guessed in his heart and then guessed something. Fang Xiancheng gave Bai Shan the impression of a workaholic, the more work he was given, the happier he would be, and he didn't dislike the burden at all. Would such a person skip work and accompany his family to go shopping in Qingzhou City? It would be nice if he didn't take the rest day to work overtime. So he must have gone to find the county magistrate. Bai Shan pondered over, nodded with Wei Dong, and warned, "Head of the county government, Wei Dong will keep an eye on him, and we will be back in 2 days." Upon hearing this, Wei Dongxian asked excitedly, "Sir, do you want to requisition the large mansions of the wealthy households in the city for backup?" "No," Bai Shan gave him a deep look and said, "Don't mess around. If your noble person comes, you can just live in the backyard of the county government office." "Requisition from whom? Is it from the Song family? Is he brain dead at this time to send a thigh to the Song family? Today I saw a new treatment method, autohomotherapy, it hurts the baby to death. See you at 10 p.m. Farmer's Blessed Girl." Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2971. Bai Shan tied the horse to the back of the car, let it run and rest by itself, and sat in the car. Daji also took over the job of the coachman, tied his horse to the back, and drove the carriage away. The guards of the Bai family brought out by Zhou Man quickly followed, and the group walked for less than a quarter of an hour before it got dark. Zhou Man was already prepared, and without her orders, the guards lit torches to drive on, and lanterns were also lit on both sides of the carriage. 2 horses were walking in front, and Daji could barely see the road with the torches they were holding. The group of people didn't walk very fast. They just walked around for an hour. They stopped after half the way, and found a flat place on the side of the road to stop and sleep. Bai Shan was sweating during the day and felt a little uncomfortable at the moment, so he could only wipe his neck with a wet handkerchief. When he saw the guards who were following the team in a low-key manner, Chong Zhou Man raised his chin, "You didn't you let anyone go? Isn't he looking for a draw when he goes back alone? So I left him behind. Well, if we go to the city together tomorrow, either he and Governor Guo, hello, me, everyone, are still in harmony, or he welcomes the anger of the other party, which will indeed affect the officers." Bai Shan retracted his gaze and said to Zhou Man, "We will leave early tomorrow." Zhou Man looked at him happily, "It turns out that you are not afraid, not worried?" Bai Shan clicked her nose and said, "It's better to resolve the enemy, not to tie it up, hurry up and rest." He and Daji had eaten dry food in the car, and now they don't need to eat any more. They start the fire, drive away the mosquitoes, and then get in the car and lie down. Lying in the car is indeed better than lying outside. The next day before dawn, Zhou Man was woken up by Keek. So she reached out and pushed Bai Shan. Bai Shan got out of the car in a daze, looking at the sky full of stars hanging in the dark sky, doubting Zhou Man's judgment. Yanxi. Zhou Man nodded affirmatively, yes. There is no hourglass, how do you know? Bai Shan felt that he had closed his eyes and slept for less than a quarter of an hour, how could it be Yanxi? Zhou Man insisted, it's Yanxi, wash your face and go. Traveling in the dark night is slower. They have to get to the city gate before it opens, so they have to get up now. Bai Shan wiped his face, but still woke everyone up, and everyone moved forward with torches. Facts have proved that Zhou Man's time is very accurate. When they arrived outside Qingzhou city, the stars in the sky were already sparse, and the sky was slightly brighter. There were also some people waiting outside the city, including those who went into the city early in the morning with vegetables and other items to sell, and there were also caravans who didn't have time to enter the city yesterday. Bai Shan's carriage was parked outside the city. Seeing that the city gate hadn't opened, he breathed a sigh of relief. When the time came, the sky became brighter, the city gate opened, and Bai Shan and the others' carriage immediately headed for the small gate next to them. When the officers and soldiers guarding the gate saw the other party's uniforms, they stared slightly and stepped forward to check their origins. Bai Shan lifted the curtain and greeted the back. The officer stepped forward and said to the city guard with a face full of words, "This is the magistrate of Bai County, Bihai County, who entered the city on the order of the prefect." The city guard immediately let go. After entering the city gate, Zhou Man looked at Bai Shan, "Are you going directly, or?" Bai Shan was in a tangle, "Although it seems that I am very sincere to see Governor Guo like this, it is too embarrassing, and is Governor Guo up at this time?" Zhou Man made a decisive decision, "Then let's go to the inn first." Bai Shan thought so too, but he still asked the guards and the officers to go to the governor's mansion first. "Let's just say that I will visit the Governor Guo and the nobles later." The officer said, "Otherwise, I'll wait for the adults to clean up before going together." Seeing that he was so worried and afraid, Bai Shan didn't want to embarrass him, nodded and asked him to follow, and then asked the guard to send a message to the governor first. The group went to the station first. At this time, there were only a few business travelers who paid to stay in the inn. Although Bai Shan and the others arrived too early, the inn still warmly received them. Bai Shan couldn't stand the smell of sweat on his body, so he said to Yuchen, "Let the kitchen bring us 2 buckets of hot water, and put the rest away first, don't worry." Yi Chen was stunned for a moment, and asked, "Don't you want to eat first, my lord? It's obviously been on the road overnight, aren't you hungry?" Hungry is hungry, but Bai Shan doesn't like the food at the inn. He would rather go out to eat steamed buns from the small stall outside, but he can't tell them that, so he smiled and said, "No hurry, wash up first, let's eat. I have to go out to meet people in a while, so I can eat outside." The kitchen staff was also limited, and when the postmaster heard that they were not eating at the inn, he was also happy, and immediately promised to prepare hot water for them immediately. Bai Shan and Zhou Man took a bath and washed their hair. Zibing took out their official uniforms and carefully incensed them, and then took out the accessories that they could wear, etc. Bai Shan and Zhou Man put on their fragrant official uniforms, and finally felt alive and refreshed. When he was in a good mood, he became generous, turned his head and said to Zhou Man, "Give me some money." "Zhou Man, are you out of money?" "Bai Shan, what do I do when I go to the countryside with money? I don't have much on my body." Zhou Man went to look at the cake, and the cake went to the box and took out a box, opened it, and there were 2 coins and several fat silver ingots in it. Bai Shan glanced at it and said, "Just give me some money." The cake took a drop of money directly. Bai Shan took it and took it out to Daji, "Let everyone go out to eat a good meal. You have tossed a lot this evening. We'll just bring 2 people, and let the others make up for their sleep. Daji took the money and agreed, took it and distributed it to everyone. Bai Shan looked at the time. It was completely bright outside, and the street was gradually crowded, but because it was still early, there were not many people coming and going. Bai Shan muttered as he mounted his horse, "I don't know if Governor Guo is awake." The Governor Guo in the governor's mansion was not only awake, but also very energetic, because he hadn't slept all night. He can't sleep. Surprise at first, then fear, and finally anger. He was scared because so many nobles suddenly came to Qingzhou city, saying that they were patrolling, but when they heard that they were out of Beijing, it was obvious that they did not stop along the way, and they came directly to his Qingzhou. Could he not be afraid? The anger lies in the fact that Bai Shan didn't come to Qingzhou city until the sunset and the city gate was closed. He didn't take him as a prefect in his eyes, did he? Where is the humility and friendliness of the past? Under various emotions, plus the sudden arrival of nobles, security, food, clothing, housing, and other things need to be arranged, he did not sleep all night. Of course, his staff didn't sleep either. So Bai Shan's escort sent the post to the governor's mansion, and he knew it within 2/4 of an hour. I heard that Bai Shan was really going to the countryside. Because he missed the person who was looking for him and went too far, he was slow to go back to the city. After receiving the news yesterday, he rushed all night and waited outside the city gate early in the morning. He entered as soon as the city gate opened, but he was in a state of embarrassment because he was on the road all night, and it was not easy to come to see the governor of Guo, so he went to the inn to wash up first. Inspector Guo's face finally looked a little better. Knowing that the other party didn't mean it, he finally regained some face, but he still sat and waited solemnly, and he waited for half an hour. I wish our party a happy birthday, the motherland is prosperous, our life today is as the martyrs wished, everyone happy July 1st. See you tomorrow. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2972. When Bai Shan and Zhou Mangxiang fluttered to the governor's mansion, Governor Guo's face darkened again. But seeing that the two of them were neatly dressed, their faces were fair and clean, they were refreshed and smiling, and even the impetuous Guo governor felt a little more comfortable. Bai Shan was wearing a green official uniform, and Zhou Man was crimson. When the two entered the study, they hurriedly stepped forward and bowed to the governor of Guo. Inspector Guo glanced at Bai Shan, only waved at him, got up and greeted Zhou Man, then asked Zhou Man to sit down, and then asked Bai Shan, who was standing, "Why did you only come now?" Bai Shan said with a look of guilt, "Sir, a few days ago, someone secretly crossed the checkpoint and sneaked into everyone's valley to investigate the new salt field. You also know that there have been bandits in Bihai County, and the lower officials are always afraid that there will be similar incidents in the local area. It exists, but Xiaoguan lives in a high hall and does not know the viciousness below, so in order to prevent the people from being threatened by violence again, Xiaoguan took people to the countryside to make an unannounced visit." Bai Shan listed the villages he has visited and some basic information. Some small villages have only appeared in recent years, not to mention the governor of Guo, but Bai Shan only found out about such a village when he went to the place and asked the villagers. The prefect's eyes smeared, and he quickly interrupted him, "Okay, this official knows, so have you returned to the county office?" Bai Shan said no with a face ashamed. He said, "Xiaoguan met the yaman who came out to report the letter yesterday on the way back to the county government office, hurry up, and only rushed to the outside of Bihai County before dark. The Lord was afraid that the minister would delay the affairs of the Lord, so he packed up his luggage early and waited outside the city. As soon as we met, we immediately went to Qingzhou city. After rushing the road for half the night, we arrived before dawn. Let's go in." He was completely unaware of the fact that Inspector Guo wanted to release Songmin through the back door. Inspector Guo said nothing, glanced at the aides standing aside and drank tea. The staff quietly retreated. The room was quiet for a while. Bai Shan was standing like a loose figure, although the atmosphere was a little weird, but he didn't seem to be affected. Zhou Man looked at this, then looked at that, and didn't say anything at all. He smiled slightly and took the cup to drink tea. She wanted to spit it out after just one sip. She swallowed hard, looked down, and realized that it was a cup of strong tea. She immediately put down the teacup, feeling that the bitter taste in her mouth had faded a little, then looked at Governor Guo, looked at him and asked, "Master Guo won't sleep all night, right?" Inspector Guo sighed, "I can't sleep." The aide came in and nodded slightly to Governor Guo across the crowd. Governor Guo sighed again, pointed to a seat next to him and said to Bai Shan, "Sit down and talk." Then he turned his head and said to Zhou Man, "No way, do you know who came to our Qingzhou city yesterday?" Without waiting for Zhou Man to answer, he said to himself, "His Royal Highness." A crown prince, a princess, and a concubine brought all the civil and military officials from the court to Qingzhou. "Sir Zhou, do you think I can sleep?" Zhou Man was stunned and stared. "The princess and the concubine? Is it Bai Er? Ahem, I mean, is it Princess Mingda and the concubine?" Bai Shan was also startled, and looked up at Inspector Guo in a daze. Hearing Zhou Man's name, Governor Guo breathed a sigh of relief, and with a smile on his face, he nodded and said, "It's Princess Mingda and the white concubine." Zhou Man couldn't help but look at Bai Shan, and Bai Shan also looked at her. The two looked at each other silently, pressed the excitement in their hearts, and tried to listen with a sullen face. Inspector Guo seemed to see their excitement, coughed lightly, and after attracting their attention, he looked worried. "I don't know why His Highness came straight to our Qingzhou." He suspected that the people were recruited by Bai Shan and Zhou Man. After all, not to mention Zhou Man, she was compiled by Kong Wengan, and she had the channel and right to make a discount. Even Bai Shan, who came out of Zhongshu, must have a channel to contact Beijing. In fact, people were indeed brought in by Bai Shan. Bai Shan and Zhou Man looked at each other across the air, and Bai Shan lowered his head and said, "Sir, maybe it's for the salt field." Inspector Guo frowned and asked, "The salt field in Bihai County has existed for decades. Why is your highness suddenly interested in this?" Bai Shan, "Perhaps I didn't suddenly become interested in the salt farms in Bihai County, but only because I needed to understand the official salt, so I came to see the salt farms." Inspector Guo's heart beat faster. Does this mean that the court is going to take action against Yanzhang? Today, most of the salt in Dajin comes from Jiangnan. Although there are a lot of well salt and sea salt in various places, Jiangnan is the one that can provide large amounts of salt to various places and pay a large amount of salt tax. And the salt tax and salt administration in the south of the Yangtze River. Even if Governor Guo had never been to Jiangnan, his scalp felt numb just thinking about it. He swallowed, and wisely did not ask any more, but said, "It's getting late, His Royal Highness and the others should also get up. You used to be the prince's companion, you must know more about the prince's habits, it's better for the two of you to go. Ask the prince if he is accustomed to living there, and see if there is anything else that needs to be purchased, and tell me, so that I can make preparations." Bai Shan got up and responded, looking at Zhou Man. Zhou Man then also got up, saluted with him, and then stepped back. As soon as they left, the two aides in the room said, "My lord, is the court going to take action on the salt tax in Jiangnan?" "Inspector Guo, you ask me, who should I ask?" He reached out and rubbed his forehead. "Our Majesty has a deep mind and can bend and stretch. Who knows what he is thinking at this time?" But no matter what he thought, he knew that Bai Shan was not just here to be a small magistrate when he came to Bihai County. He just said, even if it is released, it will not be released from a middle school to a county magistrate, right? It turned out that the drunkard's intention was not the wine. Inspector Guo thought about it for a while, and finally sighed and said with some heartache, "Return the coral tree and silver money sent by the Song family." Grown-ups. Since Bai Shan has never returned to the county office, then this matter should not have happened. You can send someone to Bihai County office again. Since Bai Shan has been sentenced, let's deal with it according to the law. The prince is here, and it is better to be quiet at this time. After thinking about it, the staff had no choice but to respond, but he was still a little skeptical. "Sir, Magistrate Bai really didn't receive the news. Don't you know anything about the county government?" Inspector Guo snorted twice. "I don't care if he really doesn't know or if he doesn't know, he has a good reason, and he came to see me in a hurry. I'll take it that he didn't neglect me, and I take it that he really doesn't know. Moreover, Bai Shan also gave him the information he wanted to know. He was no longer just his subordinate, they were more of a cooperative relationship. If that was the case, then he could not be viewed in the eyes of ordinary subordinates. See you at 6 p.m. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2973. The prince and the others lived in the governor's mansion. They came so suddenly that even if Guo governor wanted to build a palace for them, it was too late. Therefore, Governor Guo gave up the main courtyard and the two best courtyards, and took his family to live in a small courtyard. But he hasn't slept all night, and I can't see any impact on him at present. The servants led Zhou Man and Bai Shan to the main courtyard. But Bai Shan didn't go in, and looked at the two guards who were guarding the door of the hospital, and then asked the servant decisively, "Does the white concubine live in the main courtyard?" The servant was stunned for a moment and then said, "The princess and the concubine are in the yard over there." Bai Shan immediately said, "His Royal Highness may not wake up yet, let's go to see the concubine first." Zhou Man nodded again and again, "Go and see the princess first." After hesitating for a while, the servant took them to another yard. Bai Shan and Zhou Man just said hello to the two guards guarding the gate and left. Two guards. That yard is not far away, just next to the main yard, just across a road. This time the gatekeeper was the old lady of the princess mansion. They were familiar with Zhou Man. When they saw the two, they grinned and bowed their knees and said, "Master Zhou and Master Bai are here, the two of you will go in later. Pass." Bai Shan and Zhou Man smiled and nodded, stood waiting outside the door, and took a look at the backyard of the governor's mansion. It's much bigger than the backyard of their county government office. It seems that they have brought a lot of people. I wonder if their county government backyard can live there. While thinking about it, the two of them heard the footsteps of Deng Deng, turned their heads to look, and saw Bai Erlang running over with his robes, and after jumping out of the hospital door, they both laughed. "I didn't expect we would be here. Let's meet? Ha ha ha." Bai Shan and Zhou Man couldn't help but squinted their eyes. One went up and patted his shoulder fiercely, the other went up and patted his arm fiercely, and laughed loudly. "I didn't expect that, no, I really didn't think so." With a hiss, Bai Erlang shrank back, and touched his arms and shoulders with his left and right hands, feeling a little dissatisfied. "Did you do it on purpose?" "No," Bai Shan denied and said happily, "I'm really excited." "How did you come?" "Your Majesty actually agreed to let you come out with the princess." Bai Erlang said proudly, "It's not so easy, the princess and I have been begging for a long time. The main reason is that the princess has never traveled far, this time the prince is traveling, and it's Qingzhou where you are here, otherwise it's somewhere else. Your Majesty will not let us out." Bai Shan asked, "Are there many of you here?" "It's a lot, but except for me and Mingda who came to play with you, yin or idlers, everyone else has to follow the prince, and they have to go somewhere else later. You don't have to worry about expenses." "Bai Shan, Yin is here too." Come on, I live in another yard with Brother Tang and the others. Joe man, Brother Tang is here too. Yeah, Bai Erlang said of course, the prince wants to inspect, and there must always be someone close to him who is good at solving cases. His Majesty appointed Brother Tang. Besides Tang Swexian, there are two others from the censor terrace. As for the censors, you have to be careful, these two censors are very unselfish. If they find out that they have corrupted and accepted bribes or neglected the government and harshly. Bai Shan coughed lightly, lowered his voice and said, you can find a secret place to tell us this in a private place later. What are you talking about in public? But it was too late to lower the voice. The prince in the main courtyard next door had just woken up not long ago. He was half closed and raised his hand to be served and dressed. Bai Erlang's series of ha 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 made him awake, and he almost lost his footing. The prince opened his eyes, glanced sideways in the direction of the yard next door, and withdrew his hand to take the wet handkerchief from the servants. He was about to wipe his face and heard too familiar ha 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 laughter. He paused. After a moment, he looked outside. Bai Shan and Zhou Man are here. Eunuch Wu also pricked up his ears and listened, then bent down and replied in a low voice, it seems so, the servants should go out and have a look. The prince wiped his face indiscriminately, dropped the veil and said, go and have a look, let them come and talk to you. Eunuch Wu knew that the prince was not used to the climate of Qingzhou and the habit of living here, so he smiled and left. As soon as he left the yard, he asked the guard at the gate, have you seen Master Bai and Master Zhou? Guard, I see, at the princess and the concubine. Eunuch Wu asked curiously, have they been here before? Guard, arrived at the intersection, glanced at the door and left. Eunuch Wu went to find them. Mingda also dressed up and came out to meet Zhou Man. The two held hands and whispered, I told my father and mother that it is hot in Beijing, so I came out to spend the summer and then went back. Zhou Man was speechless. Qingzhou is even hotter than the capital. This is what Mingda didn't expect. Didn't you say that Qingzhou is near the sea, and the seaside is cool? Zhou Man thought for a while and said, it's quite windy, even the sun didn't bleed less, and the sweat didn't lessen. Mingda thought about it for a while, but he didn't hesitate, and waved his hand, it doesn't matter, it's good to be able to go out. If you don't say it, I won't say it, and the royal father doesn't know it's hot here. Zhou Menyi thought about it too, and asked her, do you want to follow the prince to inspect, or stay in Qingzhou? Mingda said, I want to walk around with the prince's brother, but he dislikes us very much, and he constantly dislikes us for walking slowly along the way. Anyway, when we arrive in Qingzhou, he doesn't care about us much. I plan to go with Erlang. Stay in Qingzhou, if possible, take a walk in several nearby prefectures and counties to see the world. Zhou Man, I heard that there is a ferry in Leizhu, where there are boats that can go to sea. Not only can you go south to Jiangnan, go to Lingnan, but also cross the sea to Silla and Baikya. Mingda was fascinated, but she also knew that she would definitely not be able to cross the sea, and Zhou Man also knew that she couldn't, so she suggested, it's not bad to go to the ferry to see the boats that cross the sea. Mingda nodded fiercely, excited in his heart. It's a pity that Sister Changjiu doesn't want to go out because of her big belly. Zhou Man, Princess Changjiu doesn't want to go far even if she doesn't have a big belly. We'll go to the beach to see what local products are there, and we'll bring some back to her. Mingda nodded, eyes sparkling. The two looked at each other, and both saw the excitement in their eyes. Mingda asked her, is there any fun in Qingzhou? Zhou Man was about to answer when Eunuch Wu came over and said, Master Bai, Master Zhou, why are you two here? His Royal Highness is waiting to see you. Bai Erlang and Mingda simply accompanied them to see the prince. The prince disliked Bai Erlang and Mingda, and said to them directly, I don't know what breakfast food the governor's house has prepared today, whether it suits your taste or not, you go and have a look. As soon as Mingda heard it, The prince had a secret thing to tell the two of them, so he simply took Bai Erlang out. The servants in the house also retreated one after another, leaving eunuch Wu alone to serve tea. The prince asked Bai Shan, "How much salt is in the new salt farm now?" See you at 10 p.m. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2974. Talking about business, Bai Shan also put away the smile on his face and said solemnly, "Not a lot, currently it is 180 bags of official salt." The prince raised his eyebrows. "I remember that your new salt farm has only opened for about 2 months, right?" "Yes. This is very good." The prince's fingers couldn't help but tap on the table, nodding and saying, Go to the salt field to have a look." Bai Shan said, "No problem, when does your highness plan to go?" The prince felt that it was too soon for this matter, so he said, "Let's go after dinner." "Bai Shan, is his highness not staying in Qingzhou city?" The prince glanced at him and said, "Gu is here for the salt field, why are you staying here?" What he disliked most about Bai Erlang was this. When he went to this place, he felt that it was strange and wanted to stay for a while. When he went to that place, he felt good and wanted to stay for a night and play for half a day. Does he have a lot of time? Bai Shan touched his nose, said sorry to Governor Guo in his heart, and replied, "What do you want to see, your highness?" Bai Shanyi pointedly said, "The 2 censors and Master Tang." The corner of the prince's mouth was slightly raised. "Take it, and your prefect, bring it all." He looked at Bai Shan with bright eyes, and asked him, "The salt is really sun-dried, and the production is so high that it can be eaten?" Bai Shan said seriously, "It's true." The prince nodded and said solemnly, "Gu, with so many people to cheer for you, don't ruin the game." Bai Shan instantly understood the prince's plan, got up and saluted solemnly, "I will live up to the trust of your highness." The prince nodded, then turned to look at Zhou Man. "Mingda and the concubine want to stay in Qingzhou, saying they are going to escape the heat." The prince said this with disgust on his face, "To escape the summer in a place that is more humid and hot than the capital, tisk, that's all. I'm too lazy to talk about them, you pay more attention, don't let them get sick, there's still a guarantee for them to go out." Zhou Man responded immediately and asked with a smile, "How long can the princess and the others stay?" The prince glanced at her and said, "Leave the heat in the capital to pass. It doesn't seem to be that long." The prince was unwilling to continue on this topic, got up and said, "Let's go and have breakfast." The breakfast was separate, and Governor Guo really wanted to share the table with the prince, but the prince refused, and asked eunuch Wu to let them prepare, and they would go directly to Bihai County in a while. Inspector Guo did not expect the prince to be in such a hurry and wanted to warmly entertain him, but he can't even see anyone now. "What about Master Bai and Master Zhou?" Inspector Guo's staff said. The prince left the two of them to have breakfast together. He paused and said, "And the princess consort?" As expected of the prince's companion and the concubine's brothers and sisters, the treatment is very different from them. Inspector Guo also sighed and turned to entertain the prince's accompanying officials. Bai Shan and Zhou Man are accompanying the prince to have breakfast. The breakfast prepared by the governor's office for the prince was quite good, and both of them enjoyed it with relish. The prince's appetite was good, but when he looked up and saw Zhou Man, Bai Shan, and Bai Erlang, who had equally good appetites, his appetite was even better. Mingda chewed slowly and ate a bowl of millet porridge, and after eating half of the meat pie, he couldn't use it anymore. Bai Erlang, who had only eaten a bowl of noodles, took the half of the meat patty and ate it, then ate a steamed bun and an egg. The prince was very satisfied when he saw this. He had eaten as much as he could and grew strong. This is a man. However, the prince still disliked Bai Erlang a little, and said, "In the future, I will get up early to practice swordsmanship. I don't expect you to go on the battlefield to kill the enemy, nor can you be powerless." Bai Erlang grabbed his chopsticks. "Your Highness, I'm a civil servant. The prince was even more disgusted. How many years have you been in the Hanlin Academy, and have you completed a book? When do you plan to leave the Hanlin Academy and enter the 6th studio rotation? Bai Erlang, the Imperial Academy is also quite good. He didn't want to leave the Hanlin Academy for the time being. The prince hates that iron cannot become steel. Although Mingda does not need Bai Erlang to fight for her glory and wealth, she is very rich, but the prince still despises Bai Erlang, who is not enterprising. Mingda, however, liked Bai Erlang's indifference, and said to the prince, "Brother prince, is there any other place in the court that is more noble than the Hanlin Academy?" The prince glanced at her and said nothing. Bai Shan and Zhou Man were holding bowls, but their eyes could not help but raise their eyes quietly to glance at Bai Erlang, pursing their lips in joy. After the meal, the prince went out to meet Guo Shishi and others. They only brought simple luggage and obviously did not intend to live in Bihai County. But Bai Erlang and Princess Mingda had their luggage with them. The prince didn't say anything when he saw it, but warned, "When you go to Bihai County, stay in the county town and don't run around." Mingda immediately objected, "Brother prince, I want to see the sea." The prince thought for a while, and quickly compromised, "Also." Zhou Man finally knew the benefits of coming with the prince. If it was the emperor, he didn't know how much he would have to spend. Seeing the crown prince, Governor Guo immediately stepped forward and said, "Your Highness, the carriages and horses are all ready." The prince nodded slightly, "Let's go." The prince went forward first, Bai Shan and Zhou Man fell behind, and quietly slipped to Tang He and Yin Or side. Tang He and Yin He also stood and waited for them. When they got there, they couldn't help but ask, "Are you guys growing taller?" The two were very happy when they heard it, especially Zhou Man, who looked at Tang He expectantly, "Brother Tang, am I much older?" Tang He only glanced at her and said perfunctorily, "It's a lot taller," then looked at Bai Shan seriously, "It's as tall as me, and if it grows taller, won't it be taller than me?" Yin Or said objectively, "Brother Tang, Bai Shan is already slightly taller than you." Tang He. Zhou Man snorted softly, turned his head and asked Yin Or, "Your grandmother also let you go away?" Yin Or smiled and said, "Grandma understands me very well." Not only Zhou Man and Bai Shan, but Tang He, who was beside him, looked at him suspiciously. The convoy of the prince in front had already set off, and Tang He said, "Let's go." Only then did Daji and the others lead Bai Shan and his horses. "Lord Lang, I asked them to go to the inn to pack up and go back." Bai Shan nodded, "Let someone go to Fangxiancheng, take a shortcut and go back to the county to prepare." When the good luck came down, Bai Shan rode to keep up with the team. The crown prince brought a lot of people, and the officials accompanying him went to Bihai County. The governor Guo brought a lot of officials from the governor's house, and the county magistrate also followed, so the convoy was mighty, Bai Shan and the others thought. I whispered, so I left the team of the governor's mansion and mixed with Tang Heian. Bai Erlang sat with Mingda in the carriage for a while, then slipped down, and mixed with them. The matter of Yanzhen is a secret. Although Tang He heard some rumors, he didn't know more. He couldn't help but ask Bai Shan, "What secrets do you have in Bihai County?" See you tomorrow. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2975. Bai Shan looked around and saw a lot of people, so he gave a pass. Student brother will know when he arrives. Bihai County is not far from Qingzhou City, but the princess and the concubine have many frames, so the speed should be a little slower, and it was past noon by the time they reached Bihai County. The prince disliked them because of this. If it wasn't for the two of them, he would have rushed to Qingzhou with his people. It is also because of this that the prince wanted to keep people in Qingzhou and not take him around for inspections. Of course, Mingda and Bai Erlang didn't even think about following him to inspect. The prince walked along the main street of Bihai County, turned his head and said to Bai Shan, "Your county is really poor." "Bai Shan, Your Highness, this is also the territory of the Great Jin. No matter how poor it is the place of Dajin." The prince didn't say a word. After dismounting from the horse, he didn't go in. He said to Bai Erlang Mingda directly, "We're going to the salt field right now. The meaning is obvious, are you going? If you don't go, stay and rest." Mingda immediately said, "Let them stay and pack up, let's go with the prince's brother." With a task, the prince turned his head to look at Bai Shan. Bai Shan saw Fang Xiancheng and Dong Xianwei, who had been waiting at the gate of the county government with the officials. So he beckoned someone to come forward and asked, "Where is lunch arranged?" Fang Xiancheng only dared to look up to see the hem of the crown prince's clothes. Hearing the words, he bowed and said, "Xiaoguan has set a seat at the Zayaji restaurant. Now they are almost ready, and the nobles and adults will be able to eat as soon as they go." Bai Shan nodded with satisfaction, and asked Lu Gui, who came back, to arrange the luggage for the frame, while he led Fang Xiancheng and Dong Xianwei to invite everyone to move to Zayaji. Bihai County is so big, Zhaoji and the county government are on the same street, and it doesn't take much time to walk there. The yamen stopped people along the street and let them reach Zhaoji unimpeded. Such a big movement is rare for Bihai County, which has always been remote and quiet, so many people ran out to watch the fun regardless of the sun in the sky. Even if they were stopped by the yamen on the side of the street, they could only stand under the eaves and look at the nobles who rode past. They were satisfied. But what kind of officials are these nobles? They are so powerful. I think our county magistrate and Lord Zhou will follow. I don't know, but this red, green, purple, and official robes of so many colors look like a high-ranking official. How can you be bigger than the governor? By the way, what color of official uniform does the governor wear? Dark green? Greener than our county magistrate. The county school student who sneaked out to watch the excitement almost vomited blood when he heard the words, and whispered, "The governor is wearing a dark crimson, just that red, just like Lord Zhou's." When the people heard this, they drank and asked, "Then Lord Zhou's official is as big as that of the governor?" The students of the county school knew more, and they explained in a low voice, "If it's just an official of the medical department, it should be a green official uniform, the same as the county magistrate but Master Zhou is still compiled by the Chongquen Museum. Officer, so you can also wear a deep crimson color. Lord Zhou's official is bigger than Magistrate Bai's. Isn't that eating soft rice? Be quiet." County school student, this is not what they said. Bai Shan's ability is not weak. He is only a few years late in his official career. The future has an unlimited future, even more promising than Zhou Man. However, this explanation is too troublesome. They feel that the current situation does not allow them to talk so much, so they silently look at the people who keep walking through the center of the street, ignoring the ordinary people who ask questions. The people on the side thought that these princes had acquiesced in this sentence, and their eyes rolled around for a while, and they had any ideas and guesses. The students whispered to themselves, "Who is the man in the purple robe who just rode past? I don't know, you look very young, but are you already a senior? I've never heard of a minister in the DPRK so young." Fang Xiancheng rushed back to the county town half an hour earlier than they did. As soon as he entered the city, he went straight to Zhaoji, and after wrapping up the entire Zhaoji, he also called the cooks and assistants of the two nearby restaurants to act together, the nobles from the capital, no matter what method you use, within half an hour. To make 10 tables of meals, it doesn't need to be expensive, but there must be meat and soup, delicious and safer. He said, "If you do it well, the magistrate will reward you if you do it well. If you don't do it well, it's best to say it now, otherwise you will take over the work of the magistrate and turn your head around and pick you up again. If you don't talk about the magistrate, I can't spare you." Because of these words, the shopkeepers and cooks of the three families did not dare to neglect, and worked together to make 10 tables of meals carefully. At this time, Bai Shan and the others came in, and there were still 2 big dishes that were not served at each table. When going out, the prince was not particular about it, he just wanted to be fast and taste good, but seeing that Bai Shan was so well prepared, he couldn't help but nodded slightly and sat down on the main table. This time, Inspector Guo was fortunate to sit next to the prince, and Bai Shan and Zhou Man also sat next to him. Tang He and the others sat at another table, looked Zhao Ji up and down and said with a smile, "It's not bad, it doesn't look very poor." The county magistrate looked at Fang Xiancheng unexpectedly. He knew that Fang Xiancheng was capable. He originally lifted him from the position of the main book, just to use him to fight against the Song family, but he didn't expect him to be so capable. Was this ready when Bai Shan was away? The guards brought by the prince and the others also found a seat downstairs. Fang Xiancheng and Dong Xianwei retreated from the second floor to the first floor and greeted everyone below. After Bai Shan took office, he handed over many things to Fang Xiancheng and Dong Xianwei. As long as it was within the scope of their own responsibilities, they could make their own decisions. Especially the county chief Fang, Bai Shan went to the countryside every 3 or 5 times, and the county affairs were basically handed over to the county chief Fang, so Bai Shan asked him to take a shortcut back to the county seat and act on camera, so he dared to use the few public funds in the county government to cover the restaurant preparation. If the food is under the hands of other county magistrates and there is no accurate order, he would not dare to do so. Fang Xiancheng dared to do this because he knew that no matter if he did it right or wrong, Bai Shan would give him the bottom line and would never push him to the top. As soon as he sat down, the prince was not in a hurry. He turned his head and looked out the window. The yamen outside was no longer blocking the people on the street, but just stood outside the restaurant and did not let anyone in. It was lively again below, and some people even deliberately placed the stalls opposite the restaurant and downstairs, perhaps sensing his sight, and the people below shouted loudly. The prince thought it was very interesting, and said to Bai Shan, "You county people are very courageous. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2976. Bai Shan also turned his head and glanced at it, and didn't think there was anything wrong with them. "You can make money quickly if you have the guts." The prince glanced at him. "I'm afraid bad things will happen soon." Bai Shan said nonchalantly, "Education and education, preach the law on weekdays, and let them know that the consequences of doing bad things are." Inspector Guo sat on the side without saying a word, and was just as surprised by the familiarity of Bai Shan and the crown prince as the other officials of the governor's palace. After lunch, the prince was not in a hurry to go. He sat and drank a cup of tea, and waited for General Cheng to come upstairs to explain a few words in a low voice. It is really easy to follow a light car. Except for Mingda and Yin or riding a car, everyone else travels on horseback. The prince only ordered one entourage of the imperial censor and Tang He, and the rest of the entourage officials stayed in Bihai County government office. Inspector Guo also wanted to see what attracted the prince to Bai Shan's new salt field. Even if it was for the salt administration, he would not be in such a hurry. He was unwilling to stay in Bihai County government office even for a day. Inspector Guo also brought only one of his staff, the long history, and the county magistrate Lu. The rest are the guards brought by the prince. Bai Shan felt that the sun was too hot, and he didn't know where he bought a lot of bamboo hats to share with everyone. He rode to Tang He's left. Tang He was about to give way to the right, but Zhou Man's horse's head came out and went hand in hand with him. When the guards saw this, they wisely made room for them and let the 3 of them run in a row. Tang He turned his head and shouted at Bai Shan as he rode his horse forward, Even if you have fewer chariots and horses, you can't ride 3 horses side by side. Bai Shan ignored him, and went with Zhou Man on his horse. The advantage of this was that when they stopped to rest in the middle, the horses behind them had not arrived, so they could take advantage of the waiting time. Time to talk for a while. Bai Shan gestured to the prince curiously, when did Cheng Erlang become a general? Zhou Man was also curious, but he asked, is Mrs. Cheng okay? Tang He, her husband is promoted, what's wrong with her? And she's a woman in the back house. How do I know if you ask me if she's okay? Zhou Man sighed, Cheng Erlang became a general. If he goes to Hualu in the future, can Mrs. Cheng Erlang beat him? Tang He thought about it seriously, when you say that, I remember that Cheng Erlang had a wound on his neck last month. Bai Shan, I thought His Highness would bring Lu Dalan here. Lu Dalan was Lu Yu's elder brother and also served in the army. He was the prince's confidant. Ahem, according to Man Bao, Lu Dalan was among the contacts the prince wanted to rebel. Tang He said, Your Majesty felt that Lu Dalan was not stable enough, so he personally ordered Cheng Erlang to follow. He looked at the way he came, and there was Yin Or's carriage coming over there. He raised his chin slightly and said, in April, Your Majesty will make the left and right Longwu army and the left and right Yulin army together as Yulin's pro-army, and my superior will send him. Lord Yin is in charge. Bai Shan was stunned, so now Lord Yin is not the commander of the imperial army. Tang He emphasized word by word, it's the commander of the imperial army, but it's just been promoted from the 3rd rank to the 2nd rank. In the past, the left and right Longwu army and the left and right Yulin army were separated. The Forbidden Army, they said, refers to the left and right Longwu army, who were responsible for the security of the palace, the imperial city and the capital, while the left and right Yulin army was under the control of the emperor himself, basically only in the mountains and forests in the middle of training. It rarely appears. But now the emperor merged the left and right Longwu army and the left and right Yulin army, and then handed it over to Yin Li. Although he is still the commander of the Forbidden Army, he has a high official rank, and he directly controls all the troops in the capital. Assuming a very bad assumption, if one day the Dajin region is reversed, the only people who can defend the Li family's country will be the Forbidden Army in the hands of Yin Li. Even Tang He was sometimes shocked by the emperor's trust in Yin Li. Bai Shan also marveled at Lord Yin's high position and weight, then remembered something, and was slightly stunned. Then why did His Majesty agree to Yin or go out with the prince? Tang He folded his hands in front of his belly and sighed, that's why Our Majesty is amazing. After the prince left the capital, he came to Qingzhou wholeheartedly, and wanted to do something for His Majesty to see. The emperor trusts the prince so much. Look, I have brought you the son of Yin Li, who has mastered the lifeline of the capital and the royal family. As a son, how will you repay my old father? The prince was really moved by his father's trust in him, so he disliked Bai Erlang and Mingda, who were holding him back so much. Mingda is his own younger sister, and has been in poor health since childhood. The crown prince is used to loving her, and he can't bear to blame her, so he angered Bai Erlang, looking at him from the left and not pleasing to the eye on the right. Both Bai Shan and Zhou Man thought of this, and turned to look at Bai Erlang, who was standing quietly beside him. Bai Erlang was puzzled. He held the bamboo tube and asked, what do I do? Do you want to drink water? Zhou Man pushed back the bamboo tube he handed over, and said sympathetically, you drink more, you're welcome. Bai Erlang looked disgusted, the water here is not good at all. Seeing that he disliked Bihai County, Bai Shan couldn't help but snorted and didn't want to pay attention to him, so he pulled Zhou Man and went to pick up Yin Or, who had just arrived. Yin Or came down with a fan, hid in the shade, and said to the two who came up, it's hotter than the capital here. So why did you come out of Beijing? Yin He smiled and said, I was going to go out to Beijing for a walk. It happened that Bai Er and the others were leaving, so I went with them. Bai Shan asked with slightly bright eyes, When are you leaving? Yin He smiled and said, I have no office or job, so I can go whenever I want. Bai Shan reached out and patted his shoulder and said, don't look at the heat in Bihai County, there are actually cool places. I'll take you to find it later. Zhou Man looked at Bai Shan. Yin Or sighed, why are you looking for it instead of looking? It can be seen that you haven't found it yet. Bai Shan looked at Zhou Man. Zhou Man then coughed lightly, you can always find it if you look for it slowly, and there is a sea in Bihai County. Haven't you seen the sea yet? You'll like it when you see it. Bai Shan nodded fiercely. The group rested under the shade of the tree for nearly an hour, and continued on their way when everyone and horses had almost rested. Yu Shiqian entered everyone's pond. Bai Shan took them directly to the salt field. At this time, the sun had shifted a lot to the west, but the sun was still incredibly bright. Zhou Liwei was leading people to shovel salt in the salt field. Bai Shan directly took the prince and others over there. As far as the eye can see, there are neatly arranged paddy fields, 3 fields in a row, and the rows are endless. Under the sun, the water light emits a white light. In the 2 fields behind, everyone seems to see some finely divided white crystals. The prince stopped by the field. Before he came, he imagined how the sea water would dry out the salt, but no matter how he thought about it, he never thought that it would be the same as a paddy field. See you at 8 p.m. Farmer's Blessed Girl. Author, Yu Yuzu. Chapter 2977. He stepped forward and stared at the bottom of the water. This time, he saw the difference. It was different from ordinary paddy fields. The water surface was a little white, but it was not silt, but it was not like salt. Prince looking at Bai Shan suspiciously, is there salt below? Bai Shan just glanced at it and said, this is the first time the sea water has been dried. It is estimated that it has only been in the water for 2 days, and the performance is not very obvious. Your Highness, let's go further ahead. It seems that the place with many people is collecting salt. The prince glanced forward, and there was indeed a crowd gathered in the distance, but he was not in a hurry to go there and walked directly along the ridge. Looking at the fields one by one, he found a difference. Going down the ridge, there is a very wide ditch on the side, and there is water flowing slowly in it. The prince stepped forward to take a look. Glancing at the ditch, then at the Yantian next to him, thoughtfully, is this sea water? Yes, Bai Shan explained, when the sea tide is high, the sea water will be poured into the ditches, and the ditches will connect the first salt field in each row. When the salt crystals and brine are exposed, we will sieve them and wash them into the second field. The prince walked to a field, like this one. This is a salt field with large salt crystals on the bottom. The water is almost dry, but there is still a shallow layer of water on it. The prince squatted down and stretched out his hand to fetch a handful of salt from the field. After some salt was scooped into his hand, it slowly melted softly and slipped from his fingers. He twisted and stuck out his tongue to taste the salt, which was bitter, but salty. Inspector Guo and others who followed behind the prince looked dazed, and they have not recovered until now. They have many questions in their hearts. First of all, what are these square fields for? Listen to Bai Shan's meaning to dry the salt. Isn't the field used for planting? Isn't the salt meant to be boiled? The officials looked down at Yantian at their feet, and were speechless for a while. The prince washed the salt grains from his hands in the salt field, and Eunuch Wu quickly took out a handkerchief to wipe his hands. The prince brushed it off carelessly and looked at the last field in the row. Bai Shan immediately said, that is the second field where the salt crystals were dried, melted with water, and then filtered for drying, and it is also the last salt field. We have compared the salt that was filtered twice and dried to no worse than the boiled salt. Boiled salt, in order to save firewood, they are only filtered once, the salt is more bitter and darker than the one they dry out. The prince nodded slightly and led the people forward. Zhou Liwei was squatting on the edge of the salt field, rubbing the salt crystal that was pushed in front of him, checking the quality, and a long-term worker on the side looked behind him several times, confirming that he had read it right, and quickly said, "Master Zhou, the magistrate is here again." Zhou Liwei glanced back and couldn't see the person clearly. "Impossible, he just left yesterday." The long-term worker squinted and looked at it, and confirmed, "It's the county magistrate, that's right. I have received a notification from the soldiers that Patrol Luo, who is patrolling the mountainside, has already rushed over with someone, and called Zhou Liwei when passing by Yantian. It's the county magistrate who has brought a lot of high-ranking officials, and you are still stunned. What are you doing? Go meet me now." When the soldiers found him, they said that among the people brought by the magistrate, there were not only those in red official robes, but also one in purple robes, and the magistrate followed behind the purple-robed man. When Zhou Liwei heard this, he immediately got up and followed Luo Patrol to run there. After running for a while, they finally met the prince halfway. Luo Sunjian didn't know the prince, thinking that it would be wrong to salute anyway, so he raised his hand to salute, but Zhou Liwei, who had already seen the prince's face, couldn't help but exclaimed, "His Royal Highness." The Zhou family had never seen the emperor, but the prince and the princess were fortunate enough to meet. Although it was rare, Zhou Liwei tried his best to remember the face of the prince, such a noble person. Luo Sunjian didn't put his raised hand down, his knees softened, and he knelt on the ridge with a thud. Seeing this, Zhou Liwei, who had planned to bow to the end, could only pull his trouser legs and kneel down, and together with Luo Sunjian, kowtowed to the prince. The prince was very satisfied with their respect, and the smile on his face became wider. He raised his hand and said, "Get up." He skipped Luo's inspection and looked at Zhou Liwei up and down. He felt that he was a little familiar, but he couldn't remember who he was, so he asked, "Do you know Gu?" Zhou Liwei subconsciously looked at Zhou Man behind the prince. The prince also glanced back at Zhou Man, and suddenly realized, Gu said it looks familiar, your eyes look very similar to Zhou Man. Zhou Mandao, he is my second nephew. The prince nodded slightly and asked, what is he doing in the salt field now? Bai Shan replied, be in charge. He said bluntly, the minister's energy is limited, so let him help the minister. The prince nodded slightly and asked Zhou Liwei, where is the salt harvesting? How much salt can a field harvest, how many days can it harvest once, and how much manpower does it take? Zhou Liwei was a little nervous, but fortunately, the little uncle had asked these questions before when he came, and his account book was okay, so he could answer them one by one. The prince was already mentally prepared, so he couldn't see anything on the face, but the officials who listened all the way behind him couldn't help but look at the Yantian on both sides of the field ridge. At the place where the salt was collected, the long-term workers were pushing the salt in the salt field in short hexagrams. The wooden shovel was sharpened, about 1 meter wide. After it was put down, it was pushed forward. The salt crystals in the salt field were pushed together. More and more, more and more, when pushed to the prince and the others, there were already a small pile. Even the prince stayed for a while, not to mention the ministers behind him, all of them opened their mouths. Inspector Guo thought of something, his eyes were red, he turned to look at Bai Shan. Bai Shan stood behind the prince, waiting for them to return to their senses. The prince squatted down and grabbed a handful of salt. After twisting it carefully, the salt particles fell one by one. Not to mention, they were quite fine, at least a little finer than the general salt sold on the market. The prince said to the people behind him, you guys also come and have a look. Tang He and others just waited for the prince's words, and his voice fell, and a few people squeezed up to touch the salt, squatting in rows, taking up all the side of the salt field. The long-term workers looked at them at a loss. Seeing Zhou Liwei signaling them to continue, They turned around and continued to shovel salt, ignoring these ignorant officials. The imperial censor was a little unconvinced that the salt was sun-dried, so he looked at the salt field behind him, and saw that it was full of water, and he didn't see any shadow of the salt. No, it's not that I didn't see it at all. The water was different from ordinary water at first glance, and it seemed to be white and turbid. He stretched out his fingers and stirred in the salt field, put it in his mouth and felt it. It was very salty. The censor hesitated between doubt and belief, and finally decided that seeing is believing, so he said to the prince, "His Royal Highness, I want to stay in the salt field and have a look at this method of drying salt." He wouldn't believe it unless he saw with his own eyes that the sea water came into the fields and dried out the salt. See you at 11 o'clock.